So we're here today with Tom, lead singer and guitarist from Wolfjaw. Thanks for coming, Tom.
No worries. How you doing?
So the reason we asked Tom to come on for a chat on Beyond the Vibe this week is because we're discussing rock three pieces. Now, obviously, Tom, Wolfjaw a three piece for yourself on vocals and lead guitar, Dale on bass, and Sexy Carl on drums. In terms of going right back to the beginning, what came first for you, man? Were you a guitarist or a singer first, like right back in the day?
Guitarist, man. Yeah. Always guitar first. It was just like my old man's guitarist and that, and I kind of picked it up when I was, I don't know, like 13, 14 at high school. I had this horrible Spanish guitar with a massive neck. But at that age, your hands aren't big enough to play it properly. Yeah. So I had a couple of lessons and I was like, it's too difficult. I don't like this. So stopped that. And then I was about 16, I think. And then got 15, 16, got a electric guitar from my birthday. A little Marshall amp, and it was a PV Predator humbucker.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and like a sparkly green. It was great. Yeah. not like lime green, like sparkly forest green.
Oh, classy.
Yeah, it was nice.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put you.
It was like, you quite defensively shot him down.
Quite defensive about that. What are you? Oh, it was classy, man.
I was like. It's like PV Racing Green, let's put it that way.
He was cool.
And it was just non-stop playing that then, like with my mates and whatever, just all the time, learning fucking AC/DC covers and stuff. But and all through high school and I was playing that. And then I joined a band with Dale, got to that point where I wanted to play in a band and found Dale by saving his life, but that's a whole other story. And then
you've baited it now. You can't leave it at that, man.
Just give us a small dip into the story.
Well, at that point, I think we must have been like 16, 17. It was like we used to ride BMX and boys down the local skate park and stuff. Sitting there, and I see this lad coming down the path. I'm like, what's he doing? And he's like proper tanking it. And if you know Dale, like he's not the smallest of guys, right? Like he's openly he'll talk about that. But he's coming around the corner, he's tanking it at this ramp. I'm like, he's not going quick enough. He's not going to get up here. And as he hits the ramp, he comes right up like that, and then it's his 2 feet on the top. I was like, oh, grabbed him and pulled him on the top, and then that was it. It was like best mates ever since, really.
Beautiful, man.
It's quite funny. But yeah, we started that band, and I think we were a 5-piece.
Right.
We had a singer, 2 guitarists, and a drummer, and obviously Dale on bass. And it was all right. It's just a laugh, And then fell out with a singer, as you do. A drummer didn't really want to play that kind of stuff anymore. He went on to play in a band called Goddamn. Do you know them?
Yeah, Ash. I know Goddamn. Yeah, I saw them with Slaves years ago.
Yeah, Ash, the drummer, was the drummer in mine and Dale's first band.
Oh, that's interesting, man.
Good lad, nice guy.
Good band.
And then, it just all fell apart. And then for like ages, it was just me and Dale like wanted to carry on but couldn't find anyone. And I actually heard my old man singing at my uncle's 50th or 60th birthday. I can't remember which one it was. But I was like, my dad can sing? Like, where's that come from? Like, I never knew. I knew he was a guitarist, but didn't know he could sing. So I was like, I can do this. So I had a go at it, and then because Dale used to sing, Dale used to be the main singer as well.
Right, okay.
But yeah, so it was always guitar first, and then singing was always a secondary thing, really. But now, I don't know. I'd say I kind of like singing, and I'm playing is like I need to practice more.
When you were like back as the 5-piece, what kind of music were you playing at the time? Are you doing like just covers, or like
Were you kind of from day one? Did you set out and make like your own stuff?
When it was the 5-piece, it was covers. It was like everything from Red Hot Chili Peppers to Thin Lizzy to Mill and Colin to like everything, like when you're a teenage kid that you've got this crazy eclectic mix trying to find out what you actually like. So it was all that kind of stuff. And so anything from like pop punk to classic rock and that. And it was good. It was just got us, finding your chops in it. Yeah, it was crazy. But,
at which point? So did you? So obviously you and Dale were together at this point, and you started singing. Had you met Carl at this point? And when did it to start in terms of the origins of what eventually became the Bad Flowers?
No, we were a 3-piece with a drummer called 2 drummers, both called Will. But it just didn't work. It was easy for me and Dale, but it didn't work out properly in the end. That was the main condition of the new drummer. Same name. Yeah. It didn't work out either. It wasn't the style of music they wanted to play, or like I'll openly admit I can be a bit of a dick when it comes to wanting to push things forward, to the point where it's like some people can rub them up the wrong way, because I can be really driven when I want to be,
Good quality to have, though.
Yeah, like I always thought there was better out there all the time. I still do. Like obviously we've got a long way to go before like sustaining it and stuff, but I just at that point it was just like that was all I got to focus on, nothing. I was just, that was everything. And I think...
Was Dale the same mindset? Were you both kind of there together, or was it more that Dale gave you the room to be able to do that? Because it's the same sort of dynamic with Rivers, in that, me and Dan in particular are very driven, and it's kind of the other dudes are really about that, but give me and Dan room to allow our personalities to flourish in that way.
I think Dale's... I mean, he'll probably correct me if I'm completely wrong, but I think he's grown into that. Like at the time, it was all about just playing bass and having fun, which it still is, like, all the time. But I think he's kind of grasped that there's a lot more to it and work if you want to get to where you want to be. And I think he's like he's just my right hand man. I couldn't imagine playing another band without him. You know what I mean? It's like it's just been me and him since we were 16, so. It's just difficult to even think about it, but he's just like, we're a good team, all three of us, Carl included. So,
So at which point did you decide to hire a drummer not called Will?
Well, we played in we were called Greenwood Park back then, and I don't even know why really. I don't know. But it's just it was a good 3-piece. We were playing like our own stuff, and we did loads around Birmingham and stuff, and then the drummer left just out of the blue, and we were like, oh, okay, what do we do now? And we played a show like 2 years previous at the Vic in Colville.
Yeah, my local, that is. Well, really
is it?
Local to me, yeah. I went to school in Shepshire near Colville. Cool.
So we played there, and Carl's band that he was in at the time was, I can't remember whether I think we were supporting them, and he was like, he loved it. Like after the show, we had a beer and that, and it was really cool. And then like 2 years later, we put a thing up saying we're looking for another drummer, and he was the first person to comment on it.
Cool.
And we were like, okay, like come and have a go. We'll have a bit of a knock, see how it goes. But he lived quite far away. He lived like down Coventry way, and we're up in Cannock Midlands. And he's like, and we'd had a drummer before that was travelling a lot, and that was one of the main reasons they left. So we were really like, is this going to work? Because we want to rehearse like once, twice a week. And he turned up, and we got on like House on Fire, and we played, and it had been like we'd been together for like, I don't know, like months, not minutes, is it the way I've put it before. And it just really fit. and that was it. I think 2 weeks later we played our first show.
Cool.
So yeah, it was, and then that was it, and then that was it. Not looked back since.
No, awesome. So I mean, the first time we played together was at the Asylum with Crows, and obviously at that point it was the Bad Flowers sort of album launch. I mean, how quickly did you get to that point? Because obviously when we gigged you, I remember checking you out at the time, and you guys were really kind of pushing to prominence, probably a lot down to your own drive, Tom, like you said. And how quickly did it rise from that first moment of being like, oh, it feels like we've been together months, to actually kind of releasing that debut album and being at that point?
3 years, I think, maybe. Because we were kind of just playing with no aim to start with. And like, we'd done a couple EPs which had gone really well, and like we'd played places like the Rainbow for the EP launch and sold it out, and
that's cool.
And stuff like that. It was just a lot of fun. And then we got in the van and drove to Austria and played down there, and in France, and just off our own backs, just trying to dig up these back-end pubs, wherever it'd have us in Europe, to try and expand it even more. And then that worked when we came back. So people were like, oh, you've been in Europe, and it's like, yeah, it was great. It was great, but it just kind of worked, got the momentum going a bit. And then, and then we decided we wanted to record an album, and then that's when it really started going full pelt. Like, we found like press and like marketing people, and started employing all these people, and it was basically me managing it. So we pushed that, and then that album came out, and for a completely independent release, I think it got to 17 or 14 in the UK rock charts at the time, and I wasn't really aware of anyone else pushing that boundary right then. There probably was, but in our circle, and I was like, it was nuts. I remember the day we found out we were playing Planet Rocks. We just found out, and that was it. It was just such a cool night. But it was about 3 years from when Carl joined to really like pushing on to where we wanted to be, like more of a name,
And obviously, this is obviously looking back at, like you say, the album came out, all this buzz. I remember when the gig was packed. Like, it was an awesome gig, like great vibe. Like I was saying to Ryan off air beforehand, I can remember the night really well, because it was just a real good feel around the community at that time, because obviously the new wave of classic rock was starting to come through. It really felt there was a lot of people from other bands there as well. I remember, like Bad Touch and stuff like that. It felt like it was a real community night. So obviously, all of that sort of positivity, but then at which point did you start to have the discussions around sort of the need for a name change?
I don't really know how to approach this one.
I imagine you probably knew it was coming at some point.
Yeah. I don't know how to approach this. There's been many stories of why the name changed. In many interviews, many of them made up.
We're all friends. Come on.
Yeah.
Look into my loving eyes. Look into the beard.
You want me to be totally honest? We got offered Download Festival 2019, and there was a bit of friction with the fact we were called the Bad Flowers, and there was a band called Bad Flower.
Right.
And it was our kind of decision that this would cause a bit of confusion. And they were starting to get quite well known, signed to a big label. And we were like, we're about to do another record. It's heavier. Let's think about this. Let's sit down and really think about it. Is it the best move? Should we do it? Should we not? And it was like, at that point, I think it's gone 2 years now since we did it, but I think it was the best decision at the time, because I think like we'd gone a little heavier, the image has changed a bit. We wanted a name we could really grow and run with. The Bad Flowers to me sounded a bit more like light or a bit psychedelic or something like that. it didn't fit where we wanted to go. So I think that was the right point to do it, knowing that we got this big festival, like the one that in this country everyone wants to play in our genre anyway. And I think it was like, yeah, let's do it, and that was it. We were like scribbling names down for ages, and then that one just stuck.
How did you come to the name Wolfjaw? Like, why not any other part of like a wolf's anatomy? Like, why on wolf's jaw?
Wolf's spleen. I don't know.
Because it's not. I mean, when you first made me aware of you guys, like you hear Wolfjaw and you think, "Oh, that's a different name."
Yeah.
Like you don't, you know what I mean? Like you don't hear anything similar. I mean, I don't think you're gonna have any trouble about any other bands called Wolfjaw coming about.
I hope not. I don't want to go through that again. I don't know. It just stuck in our heads. Like I say, we wanted something that was we could grow in, we could be a bit heavier, or we could still go and do the bluesier stuff if we wanted. Which is it lives up to both, I think. So it didn't take away from the first record, or still the same band, still the same people. It's just a growth thing, really. And we're just going to stick with this and run with this for the next record and the one after that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I think you've reflected on it a little bit before, but I remember there being quite a lot of buzz around the name change, because I did feel like it was an identity change as well, and I think Wolfjaw kind of does, like you say, it does fit that direction you go. I mean, what were your sort of influences around that time, around you going heavier? Was there a particular sort of sound or a direction you wanted to go, or did it just naturally start to flow that way?
I think there was a lot of influences. So all three of us individually were going through like really rough periods of time when that happened. Like I can only talk about my personal experience, so I'm not going to talk about the other guys, but personally I was like breaking down mentally. It's not, I don't really talk about it as much as I should, really, but I was really quite ill. And so I think if you listen to our second records, The Heart Won't Listen, like from start to finish, you listen to the lyrics, it makes a lot more sense, knowing that at that point things like shit had hit the fan for me. So that's a massive influence in lyrically and why things were a bit heavier, because it was a bit of anger and frustration and not really knowing what the hell was going on personally. But in terms of what we were listening to at that time, it was like I was listening to like some Queens of Stone Age, All Them Witches, like kind of like doomer stuff, and you know, so there was a lot of like King Buffalo, and there's a lot of that going around. So that's kind of why some of that influence kind of came out like it did.
Yeah, I think sonically all of them witches fit that sort of bracket that you guys sit in as well, where, like you say, it allows you to dip into the bluesy side of things if you want, but you can go that heavier, grungier side if you want, and all of them witches seem like a good sort of comparison, definitely.
Yeah, there. I don't really know how to describe that record, like I say, because it was a lot of it I don't even remember recording. Honestly, because like I say, I was that bad. I was like in and out of the studio, and some of the stuff, like the tracks we play live now, like Piece of Me, Beast, Hear Me, stuff like that, yeah, sticks in my head. A lot of the other stuff, as weird as it sounds, I don't remember a lot of recording it, so it's a strange one for me to sit and listen back to. It's like a bit of a right. I don't want to revisit a lot of that kind of stuff, but it helped to get all that out and on a record, and push things forward. But those bands definitely were like influences at a time. Like say sonically, like All Them Witches are similar setup. Apart from they had a keys player. Like we were using loads more fuzz on my guitar tones and everything. Like I've got, I don't know how many fuzz pedals I got now. Too many.
Noticeable thing for me as a guitarist. I mean, we chat gear quite a lot, but it did feel like it went that more sort of gritty, sort of fuzzy side of things, which is badass, man. No problems with that.
Yeah, the guys like at Orange Amps like hooked us up, and we got like nice custom shop 50, and then it just lends itself to that kind of tones.
Cool.
So that was really cool. And experimenting with that was great. And we've took that now and gone forward with it and learned from all that bad shit and all that songwriting, kind of, because a lot of that lyrical content was like a learning curve for me on how to write songs. And like my partner had that, like she helped me loads with the songwriting.
Cool.
Like she's badass, you know. Her new track came out yesterday, so like I learned a lot from that. So going forward, like the new record has become like super exciting, and we've like got a new lease of life. And whether that's because we haven't been able to get together as much in lockdown and it's become exciting and fresh again, or I don't know, but it just sounds like I'm really excited. The songs like are the best we've done.
Yeah, no, exciting for us to hear. I think there's a lot of things kind of happening in terms of lockdown, you know, so hopefully when we come back out of it, you know, or when we can eventually go back gigging again, there's a lot that people are going to hear that they've not heard before.
Yeah.
So going back to that the first album, you decided to re-release Starting Gun under the Wolfjaw name. You don't really see like a lot of bands go back and like retrospectively release something that came under their old name. Like in terms of that, like was that an easy decision for you guys, like to just come and release that? And like you know, did you in terms of like performance wise, did you choose to keep some songs, or like did you leave some behind in that whole transition?
Did you change any of them, Tom, in terms of the sort of the sound? Because like you say, you've got, you know, you're going for this more fuzzier thing, you've got this new identity. Did you kind of rejig some of them a little bit as well?
The songs themselves haven't been touched. Like live, it's a different story. Like they evolve every time we play them.
Okay.
There's like different bits in them every time we play them. We haven't. A lot of the first record makes up a massive amount of our set live as well.
Cool.
And the reason we kept it and just, I mean, we didn't re-release it as such. What all we did was kind of just change the logo on the front, and it's the same songs, the same band, and it was just, we didn't feel like we wanted to move away from that. It was still us. So it is being officially re-released at some point this year.
Oh, okay.
And it'll be on CD and vinyl with the Wolfjaw name on it. It's got couple of live bonus tracks and a cover on there as well.
Oh, that'd be cool, man.
So there's like 3 or 4 bonus tracks on there. The cover we recorded in between these lockdowns, and it's pretty cool, man. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, see, man. I respect you guys for sticking with that as well, because I imagine the amount of work that went into that first album. You know, I admire the fact you stood by it and said it's still us as a band. It's still who we are. It's still, and the biggest thing, it's still part of your journey. You know, it's still part of what took you to The Heart Won't Listen. You know, and it deserves to have its time and be re-released. So I'm glad you're bringing it back out again.
Yeah, man, it's the biggest part of our journey so far, if you ask me. Like, it was our biggest, like, it sold really well. People dug it. We got to tour it really well. Like, we went on tour with Stonebroken literally the week it came out and played to these big venues that were all full, which I'm not, like, so grateful for them having us on that. And then we were on that with James Nichols as well, and we've become really good mates. And then like it all pieced together and like started like rolling forward. So yeah, it's definitely the biggest part of our journey, I think.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of The Heart Won't Listen, obviously you spoke about you know, your own relationship with the songwriting and the album as a whole. I mean, one of the things me and Rai were chatting about, it was interesting that you released it through a French metal label with Listenable Records. Like, how did this come about?
the guy at Listenable, Laurent, he wanted to sign us literally as we released Starting Gun.
Right.
And we played at the O2 Arena in London at Stone Free Festival.
Remember that?
And he'd flown or driven over, I don't know. He'd come over anyway to see Jared. And because Jared was on his label too. And he came and met me and we had a sit down and we talked about it. And it was like, at the time, it didn't really work. Because I was like, well, we've just released it ourselves. We've paid for everything, like all the production, all the vinyls. We got it, sourced it all ourselves, and it didn't make a massive amount of sense to me at that time. And that was it, really. That was where we kind of left it. And then I think as we were writing The Heart Won't Listen, he got back in touch and was like, I'd like to hear what you're doing, and if you're still open to talk, so I'd like to put your new album out. So we sent him the stuff over and he proper loved it, and that was it, and we signed that deal there and then. So that album was out on them. This new one's been re-released through Listenable, and then the newer record due to record at the end of March, that is also going out through Listenable as well. He's like, can't speak highly enough for like, he just gets to war for you. He's like proper nice guy.
No, that's cool, man. Yeah. Enthusiasm's the biggest thing, I think, as well. You want to feel like you're working with people that have got, like you say, that drive that you've got is something that's similar to what I have with Rivers, and I want to be working with people that have got that same enthusiasm and that love for what we're trying to do. It definitely helps it move forward at the right pace.
Yeah, it's like, I think we've always been we've made bad decisions in terms of people we've worked with in the past, and we've learnt from them, and I think it's helped me realise the kind of people we want to work with. And when talking to Laurent and stuff and meeting him in person and just knowing he's a music lover, the labels like loves their bands that they put out. It's like they wouldn't do it if they didn't, and that was like a massive thing for me. And I was like, yeah, let's try this, let's see how it goes, and the relationship's gone quite well. And I think, fingers crossed, this next record's going to do even better. So, it's nice. It's nice to know that they're there,
I imagine at this time, like, one of the coolest and most exciting experiences as a band was preparing for your longest tour to date with Jared James Nichols. However, this was, of course, cut short because of COVID. How was the experience like while you were allowed to play? And can you talk us through like how quickly like the sad news came and
yeah. It was crazy that, like, you think 2019, let's just take a step back a minute.
Yeah.
I think that was a busy year. Like, we did Download Festival, a bunch of other festivals. We had the van stolen with all the gear in it. Had to buy all that back.
Wow.
Like we did some good tours. We stepped into Europe for the first time properly in October. We goodbye June, and did like Germany and stuff like that we hadn't done before. So it was mint, and like we were like proper buzzing. We were, apart from the van getting nicked, it was all good. But we got the stuff back, so that was all right. And then, so it was like, this tour is going to be, we're going to fucking nail it. Like, it's going to be great. So the lads drove down to Madrid with the gear and with Dennis, the drummer from Jared's band, and Nate, the tour manager and the bass player. And I had to work right up until like the day of the first show because I couldn't get enough time off to do the whole 3 weeks. So I literally finished work at that morning. I think I finished at like 12, and then I was on a flight at 4. and I was playing a show at 7.
That's sick, that is.
So it's like, yeah, literally like flew into Madrid, got in a cab, went, I need to go here. The guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, this place, like, take me.
The most stereotypical Spanish driver you'll ever see.
Oh yeah, it was like, what's his face for 42 or something?
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Manuel.
It was like, oh, come on, man, I had to put it in my phone and give him the directions. But like, it got me there. He was a laugh in the end. Got there and literally got out of the cab and it was like, right, let's load in. I was like, fucking hell, like I've just today flown in here, like, and all the COVID stuff was kicking off. Then it was like
right.
it was in the news. It was everywhere. You know, people weren't sure what was happening. Like there was like the worst rock and roll tour bus ever. That all that was on it was like hand sanitizer and stuff. There was like no beer or nothing. It was just the only alcohol on there was from the hand gel. It was just like,
rubbing it into your gums.
yeah, like, can't play guitar, I don't have fingers left. You know, it was like, but it was just. But those shows that we did, so there was like 5 in Spain. I try and remember where they were. There was Madrid, Gijon, Pamplona, Barcelona, and Valencia were mint. Like, they're Spanish. The crowds, they're so enthusiastic. And it was like, the venues were really nice. They really looked after us. The promoter was like, still talk to him now quite regularly. He's just such a nice guy. Like, it was just brilliant. And the shows were packed, and COVID was in the news, but no one really knew how it was working or how bad it was. And it was right when Italy was really having it bad. Like, it hit them really hard. And our next show was, I think, one of the German shows had been cancelled because they were like, no, we're not doing this. We were like, oh, right, okay. Now it's starting to get serious. And our next show was Switzerland. We see where all this was kicking off in Italy. And we were like, are we doing the show? What do we do? And we were like, we're driving to France, stop in France, and we'll see what happens. So we stopped in France and we were like, got in touch with the promoter. They were like, show's still going ahead. Tickets sold. People still coming. Right. So we drove Switzerland, played that show in the best venue I've ever been in. It was crazy. It was like all wooden, tiny little, the stage wasn't very big, little dance floor, all people around it. And then it was like 3 or 4 floors up. It was like, what the heck?
I remember you putting pictures of it online at the time.
Yeah, it's all like,
My memory really well about that does.
there was a full-size T-Rex head from Jurassic Park in there and stuff.
Oh, well, that makes it 10 times
An 8-foot tall Batman and like all this. I was like,
In a music venue.
yeah, and it was
killer.
it was my birthday. This show was my birthday, and it was just nuts. It was really cool. Yeah, we like Jared had been killing it all tour. Like, he's really on form, and whenever we play with Jared, it always makes us go up a notch because he's just such a good guy to be around. And we played that show, and it was good, and everyone was okay, and there was no worries. There's a few signs up around the venue about COVID and washing your hands and stuff. It's March the 11th, so just before the lockdowns started kicking in. So we then got in the bus and was like, we'll go back to France because staying in Switzerland's madness and in price, and you get taxed on all your stuff going in and out, a bit like you will into Europe now anyway. So that was just like sorting all that out. It was a nightmare. And then, so we got back to France, stopped in the hotel, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, got a knock on the door, like a Baron, who's the bass player in Jared's band, was worried because Donald Trump had said that he was putting a travel ban on all people from into America from Europe, apart from the UK. And we were like, fuck, okay. Now it's getting serious kind of thing. So we got up in the morning, booked the first ferry back to the UK and just made a run for it. And was like, yeah, we got ferry really well. The last ferry out, I think it was on that night. It was really late.
Wow.
And we got back to the UK, and they managed to get some flights back to LA, and that was it. The tour was done, dusted 2 weeks early. Hardly got into stride. It was like, well, okay, what happens now? Sit and wait, and then obviously I think it was like 20 something. A few days after, because I got back and they wouldn't let me back at work. They were like, "No, you've been in Spain. It's bad days. Been in Spain. You got quarantine." So I was working from home, and pretty much where I've been ever since. So it's just like I can't complain, because it's at the end of the day it's only gigs. It's not lives, and to have that cancelled, it's not. We'll play again at some point in the future. We'll play gigs again, but the amount of people that it's hurt and stuff, that I don't want to complain too much about it, because luckily we've all been healthy and good. So I'm just grateful we got to do what we did. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice. Like the first few shows were great, and then it started to creep in all the news, and everyone's starting to panic. And we're in the bus, and it's always in the back of your mind. You get the merch, and people trying to shake your hands, and you try not to be rude. You don't want to shake their hands in case you get ill, and because if one person, you know what it's like being in a tour bus. One person gets it, everyone's going to get it.
Yeah.
So it was like it was really hard situation, but. Like I say, what can we do about it? Nothing.
I think it's really interesting insight. As much as it was obviously quite an emotional thing, that idea that, because obviously from our side of things, because we weren't in that experience, you're sort of sitting in England and you're quite comfortable and you're just sort of watching it slowly happen. But having that sort of fear at 3 o'clock in the morning, because obviously with Jared and all that being from the States, it's like how emotional it must have been, and the fear, of how quickly it's going to sneak up that something really shit could happen here. It gives a completely different side to it, definitely. But I bet you cherish that last gig in Switzerland, don't you? And it sounds like it was the ultimate swan song.
Yeah, the Swiss one was good, but the Spanish ones were the ones. Like Barcelona was really cool. I met Lou from Don Pony's Pedals. He's become a really good mate and built me some things. And there's still people we met on that tour that we talked to all the time. It was just really good to be in a place that we've not been before and be appreciated. It was, and we're appreciative of that. So we're going to go back, Brexit or no Brexit. At some point, we're going to go back. So
no, that's cool, man. And like you said, hopefully there's a lot of things in the works to try and make the best of this year, whatever it will be. And I'm sure you boys will be pioneering at the front of that. So I can't wait to see what you're going to bring out to make it, a year to remember.
Yeah, we're going to do our best. Tell you what, we got to get that show together still that we were going to do, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Yeah. We'll do it. It's good. I said to Rye before the interview, it has hit me a little bit more. Like I've been all right for most of the time when we've not been gigging, and then I've just started. It's weird. Normally I listen to. I'm like an old man. I tend to listen to a lot of stuff that I know I enjoy. I listen to a lot of Jethro Tull and a lot of old stuff. But I've been listening to a lot of bands that we gig with, like yourselves and Wagons. And a few others, and it's just brought me straight back to that feeling of gigging, and it's really hit me over the past sort of few weeks. So I'm at that point where hopefully we can get back to it at some point, but yeah, we'll have to see, man.
I've got that exact same feeling, to the point where listening to music hurts sometimes. Like sometimes in the car now, I'll put like a talk radio on or something, or a podcast, because I'm like, I don't want to listen to this because it's making me sad.
I'm doing what I did when I was 14 before I was in any bands, where I used to listen to like the Darkness and stuff, and like think of what I'd be like in a load of leotards and stuff like that. I'm listening to music now and I'm thinking, I want to get back on stage, man. I find myself just walking around in my stage gear. Just to feel like I'm
just going to the shop.
Just going to the co-op with a twat hat on and some pointy shoes, But it's nice to do these interviews, because I feel me and Rye, one of the reasons we wanted to do it is to try and bring bring that sort of musical connection back together, you know, and it's great to see you, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, same. It's the ones I've listened to like so far have been like it's one of the ones I'll put on in the car. It's really good. So I appreciate you having me on.
Finally, which question that we like to kind of end on, in the future in this kind of non-COVID world, if you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be?
Now, I've been thinking about this because I was going to
say, tell he's been listening.
We've got a number one fan.
Guess what? I haven't got an answer. I don't know. Everyone has said Rival Sons, haven't they?
At the moment,
yeah,
we've got...
they're on number one thing at the minute. Yeah.
So, like, I would like to play with Rival Sons, but I'm not gonna. They are one of my favourite bands, but I'm not gonna go any further.
Refuse to.
So, yeah, I think I don't know how far like what you class from the past, but like early Queens of the Stone Age would be like
okay.
Definitely
like a specific era of them.
Yeah, like the first few records, you know, when they were like dead raw.
Yeah.
Like I saw a video someone posted the other day when they played at the varsity in Wolverhampton. I was like, what? I was like 4 or something. It was just like the videos, the whole set's on YouTube. I was like, that's cool. That would have been nuts.
That's actually one from the past then. We'll grant
so.
If
he was 4, I think we can.
I think so. Like, and then I don't know. Present, probably like All Them Witches, maybe, because we've been quite lucky to the point where a lot of the bands we started like sending links to each other when we started our band, we've played with, like Tyler Bryant, Jared, like the guys in Goodbye June and stuff like that, like big influences, and we've managed to play with them and do tours with them. So one I haven't, and one that's come to my attention recently will be All Them Witches for sure. I think that'd be good.
It's a good lineup, man. Early Queens, Wolfjaw, and All Them Witches.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
It's gonna be fuzzy. It's gonna be fuzzer.
You disappeared then.
Yeah, I know there was a little bit of lag. Yeah, I said it was going to be a fuzzy one. Be a fuzzy line.
Oh, yeah. Fuzzier than your face, mate.
Mate, I've got a lot of hair on this body. Right, it was lovely to speak to you anyway, Tom.
You too, bud.
Look forward to whatever you're going to release to us this year, you know. And for those that haven't listened to Starting Gun, which will be re-released at some point this year through Listenable Records, or to The Heart Won't Listen, make sure you check them out and give Wolfjaw some love. It's good to see you.
Thank you very much. You too. Cheers.